So this morning, just to give an introduction, we learned before that the intellect has three ways of being flexible. One is that it's able to be broken up into parts. So now instead of just one thing, it's multiple parts. Number two is that um, these these parts present different options. So now instead of only one option, it's flexible. There's multiple options. The third part of the seichel being flexible is that all these different options don't clash with each other. And even if at the outset someone sees or perceives that a different perspective does clash, really it does not clash with his perspective. Rather, he views it as a different option and another opportunity, a different opportunity. So today we learned that that the nefesh, the soul, has the same source, but each person has a different essential nature, and the nature does not change. So a person's nature does not change, and it's according to the way the person's characteristics or their makeup, and it's just similar to how the nefesh comes down into that person's guf, into that person's body, which gives them their essential nature, which does not change. And so the Rebbe Rashab gives an example of either a person having the essential nature of chesed, of kindness, or the essential nature of gvura, of being more strict with severity. So, the only way that a person can act or direct themselves in the opposite midah is if they work very, very hard to act and direct themselves in the opposite midah, and that only lasts for a moment. In that moment that the person is really working hard to direct themselves opposite to their nature. However, it does not change their inherent nature. A person who is completely kind and ish chesed in his nature can really conquer over himself and act in a midah of strictness, of gvura, but it only lasts for a moment, and it only lasts for a moment, and it never changes his essential nature. And additionally, he only does this in order to do the will of the Eibishter. So sometimes a person has an isayon, a person has a challenge in life, and in this challenge, the person has to go against his nature, and he has to direct himself in the opposite midah. And he does it in order to fulfill the will of the Eibishter. So we see this, an example the Rebbe Rashab gives in Avram Avinu, that the Eibishter gave him a nisayon. The Eibishter gave him a challenge, and he said, I want you to give over your only son to me. And Avram Avinu, his nature was chesed. So he had to really work on himself and conquer over himself to act in a midah of gvura and say, okay, I'll give over my son to the Eibishter. But even though in that moment he was able to conquer over his essential nature and act in a midah of gvura, to give over his only son to the Eibishter, it was only for that moment, and it did not change the essential nature of Avram Avinu's inherent kindness, and he was only able to do this in order to do the will of Hashem. And we see in this that his essential nature of kindness never changed, and it demonstrated that he still had his never-ending love for Hashem, even though he was able to conquer over his nature for a moment and show the opposite Mida and direct himself in a way of Gvura.